So today we are going to play a game, sort of. We're just gonna have a good time. I posted a video, I don't know how long ago, a while ago, which, have you seen the Reddit forum, Am I the fill in blank? That is where people submit scenarios and ask, okay, was I the one that was in the wrong in this situation? And then the audience says yes or no, or, you know, something in between. So I posted a video doing that, but making it bookish, and a lot of people asked me to do it again, and I forgot about it until just now. And then I made a community post so that we could do it again. So last time I created a forum so that you could follow along and submit your answers on passing judgment on if you think that the person in question is in the wrong or not. I've done that again. It's in the description, so you can follow along as well, or you can fill it out afterwards. And you too can pass judgment as well as see what the general consensus, what the most popular responses were for my audience, at least. So y'all submitted scenarios. Time for me and you to pass judgment. I bought the first book of a series and liked it, so I lent it to my sister so she could read. She took the book and is buying the rest of the series using the first book I bought as a basis. If I take the book back, am I the father? So this is a great one to start with because you watched the last video. So for those who don't know, I try to avoid using the full phrase of this forum. So we replaced the final word with father, and there was a reason that we did it, and that explanation is in the last video. I'm not gonna repeat it, so just go watch that last video if you feel like it. But anyway, the answer is, it depends on how you presented this book to your sister. If you presented it to her as, hey, I'm lending you this book for you to use momentarily because I want you to try out this series, then, you know, obviously that's your property to take back. If you presented it to her in a way that made it seem like it was a gift, then that can be a little bit more tricky. Now, your wording in this is, I lent it to my sister. So I assume that's your property that you lent and now she is keeping for herself. So no, you're definitely not the father in this situation. That's your property, you're allowed to have it back. Probably this whole situation could be resolved with a simple conversation, just saying, hey, I think I probably wasn't clear enough when I lent that to you, but that's my only copy of that book and I did want it back once you were finished. So can I have it back, please? I've been in this situation before where I lent something to somebody and was a little bit ambiguous with my verbiage, and then it was like a little bit awkward, but in the end, not super duper awkward. And so now I'm super clear when I lend stuff, especially, so my nieces, I give them a lot of books and I lend them a lot of books. So I'm always crazy clear where I'm like, okay, this one is a borrowed book. It's mine, I want it back. This one is a given book. It's yours, you keep it. Like, I'm always super clear with my language because I don't want weird scenarios, because like confrontation is very stressful for me. But also usually confrontation is built up in our heads and not really that big of a deal. A simple conversation does the trick. When I was in middle school, circa 2011, I spent several months actively hiding the fact that I was reading Twilight from my best friend. She was such a vehement Twilight hater at the time. You remember the type. Me, probably. And I was scared of her reaction. Of course, it did come out eventually, and my friend was actually pretty hurt over it. Not because I read the books, but because I presumably thought so little of our friendship that I was genuinely afraid it wouldn't survive a disagreement over Twilight. Which wasn't true at all. I was such a sensitive kid that I saw even low-stakes potential conflict of this nature as something to avoid at all costs. I can relate. I'm very non-confrontational. So am I in the wrong? Honestly, I have a hard time judging either of us too harshly, because can we really be held accountable for all the silly behaviors we engaged in middle school, particularly those induced by whatever black magic surrounded the Twilight Saga? But to this day, this is probably the biggest drama we've ever had in our friendship, and I find it really funny. First of all, that's awesome that y'all are still pals and that you really haven't had any actual drama in your lives with each other. That friendship sounds incredibly wholesome. Second, I'm gonna give you a light yes. You are the father, but it doesn't matter because you were in middle school and we're all idiots in middle school. I personally stand by the honesty is the best policy philosophy, given kindly. It's not permission to be a jerk, but especially something like this, I probably would have had a similar reaction to your friend where I would have been like, you don't trust me to treat you nicely if you like something I hate? And also it's okay to like something popular. So yes, for lying unnecessarily instead of like bonding with your friend over something that you could like in a fun way disagree over, but also you were in middle school, so who cares? I get really passionate about books and media in general when talking about them, and I think people often take it the wrong way. Like, I know it isn't about life or death, but stories are important to me, so I become really animated when talking about them. I mean, I can go into an hour-long rant about almost any book. Thing is, a lot of the time, this can include a disagreement on something or other, and because I carry this really animated / passionate demeanor when talking about media, I often end up coming off as too intense and attacking someone else's opinion when it's really never my intention. I am passionate, but I enjoy having these discussions even if we don't agree, maybe even especially if we don't agree. So my enjoyment ends up coming off as intensity, I guess, so people get really defensive and the conversation turns sour. This has happened a couple times and, well, I don't know anymore. Are you me? Is every commenter me? Obviously, I'm a pretty passionate person. I love shouting about books, ones I love, ones I hate. I love having an excited discussion about stories. And for the people in my family that are a little bit more reserved, I have noticed in conversations where I'm excitedly talking about something, I've noticed people kind of pull back from me. And I realize that I can come off intense when I'm just trying to share excitement. And so I've had to learn to adjust to make room for other people in conversations. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with being a passionate, excitable person. I firmly believe that that if you want to love life and love things, you shouldn't hide that to try to look cool or, I don't know, mature. Just enjoy life. It's an awesome thing to enjoy. And if books make you happy, love books. However, people like us, we have to make sure that our excitement and our enjoyment doesn't overshadow other people's presence in a conversation. We have to make sure that we're making room for other people and that we're not overpowering them so that we're leaving space and opportunity for an open discussion. So I'm going to say definitely not the father in this situation. However, probably paying attention to tone, paying attention to how loud your excitement is getting, and paying attention to, am I leaving them the opportunity to finish all their sentences and to fully get their thoughts out there, acknowledging the validity of their thoughts, and then offering up my own thoughts too. Us passionate people, man, I get you. I think authors should use the word undulate more. It's just such a nice word and so fun to pronounce. It doesn't get used enough. Am I the father? Yes! Yes, you are. Am I the father for refusing to read books with ugly covers? Example, the ones with real people on them, those fantasy covers that have an image of a woman wearing a skin-tight leather clothing who also happens to have glowing eyes or something. No matter how good the book is supposed to be, I just can't stomach it. I mean, it's your time and it's your money, assumedly, so you can do what you want with it. Not the father. But you might be missing out on some good stories. Unfortunately, authors don't get to choose their covers usually, so they may not want you to hold the covers against them too badly. But at the same time, I mean, I constantly judge books by their covers and pick up books just because the cover is awesome, so who am I? When I was in high school, I borrowed my best friend's copy of Words of Radiance and I loved it. I took it everywhere with me. Then one day I spilled hot chocolate all over the paperback. I barely managed to actually save it, but the cover came off. Am I the father for lying at the time and saying my brother ruined the book instead of me? She's held a grudge against my brother ever since and he had no clue why she doesn't seem to like him? What? Oh my goodness, yes. I'm so sorry, but in this situation, yes. Doesn't mean that you're a bad person, but in this isolated scenario, you were absolutely in the wrong. Not just for lying to your friend about their possession that you destroyed, it sounds like without replacing it. You should have replaced it. Even if that meant saving up your allowance for a while or like doing odd jobs to get extra money. Like you should have replaced the object that you destroyed. But then lying and passing blame to someone else and then creating a rife relationship between that someone else and your friend when it was your fault. Like, yeah, I'm sure you're a lovely person. I pass no judgment on your character as a whole, but absolutely yes, in this scenario, you are the father. I love you very much though. Now it's time for an interlude. I I just want people to read my favorite books. Is that so bad? My friend is going through a really hard time at work and has been really depressed. She wanted something light to distract herself with, so I recommended a fun underdog story about a med school dropout who is trying a new career. He meets people and travels to new places unwillingly, discovering the power of friendship, trademark. He even has a really supportive mentor-type friend who cheers him on. Anyway, she has now reached part 3 of The Way of Kings. And is trying to make me pay her therapy bill. But like Scylla's basically Tinkerbell, so what's her problem? Oh, I don't care how bad you want your friends to read your favorite books. That's not cool. But no, you're not the father. Good job. I am a great man. I would even consider myself to be above the rest of the mere humans, really, befitting my situation. I live in a place called the Sacred Land, of course. The clan I belong to is even named after the heavens and a fire-breathing, serpent-flying thingy. That's beautiful. Anyway, I was taking my employee for a walk. I even was kind enough to give my employee a necklace to which I tied a special holy strand and held the opposite end of the strand in my hand so as to help guide the mere human to the place I pleased. After a very major inconvenience of my employee stumbling and nearly making me fall off his back, I felt that it was high time I administered divine punishment upon this creature with my gun. Oh, it's taken me far too long to realize that this is the celestial dragons. However, as soon as I was about to free him from his mortal cage, oh my gosh, using my graceful bullet, a weird raven man appeared out of nowhere and had the audacity to slap my gun out of my hand while I was about to teach my employee a much-needed lesson. The higher government authorities, the so-called admirals, would surely see my rationale. However, this seemed to disagree as he clocked me in the face. What? Wow. Yeah, you're the father. And I'm so sorry to those of you who didn't get the reference, but just know it was a really good one. Am I the father for buying a book series as both a paperback omnibus and individual hardcover books, then proceed to chop up the omnibus in chunks so that it becomes individual books, rip the binding off the hardcovers and stuff the omnibus chunks into the newly ripped off bindings, and then donate the remaining books, the ones now devoid of bindings, to a local orphanage? What? What are you even talking about? This doesn't seem like anything. What are you talking about? This is insane! That was a joke, yeah? Am I in the wrong? So I have been working the last couple of years on developing some new stuff for the government, and to be honest, it's not been going well. I was about to hit my deadline before the government pulled my funding and decided to just mess around a bit. So I invited my daughter and my dog to help me out as a fun family kind of day before the fundings run out and I have to find a new line of work. Oh no. I currently work from home, so I didn't have to bring them to the office. So we do that for an afternoon, and what do you know, but it works. Finally, after years of trying, their help was all I needed. Oh my gosh. I probably should have known since my wife helped me out the last big breakthrough. No! Together, families can accomplish something. Anyway, when some of my coworkers showed up, I presented them with my work and they got real mad. The one even tried to attack me. They ended up calling the police and I got arrested for some reason. Did I do something wrong? Congratulations for making an extremely specific Full Metal Alchemist reference without spoiling anything. Yes, you're the father. I, 16-year-old male, have been trying to incinerate a bald child, 12-year-old male, for a couple months now, and his friends keep bullying me. What? It's not my fault. I have to do it. My dad, ruler of a country, kicked me out of the house for backtalking and told me I had to eliminate this big, bald global rival that happens to be the bald child. It's taken me way too long to realize this is Avatar: The Last Airbender. My uncle came with me and is consistently guilt-tripping me and questioning my honor. I feel like everyone's against me in this situation and really need a sanity check, guys. Update, now my sister, childhood crush, and their weird cartwheeling friend are trying to snitch to my dad about how I failed. Oh my gosh, that's such a good one. When I was 12, I heavily promoted my favorite book to one of my best friends at the time. She read the book and did not like it. When I saw her at school the next day, I opened her bottle of water that was in her backpack and proceeded to let the water bottle spill all over her notebooks, pens, and pencils? Am I the father? Okay, again, when you're 12, you're an idiot. But yes, in this scenario, you are the father. 12-year-old you made a very bad choice. Am I the father for not reading my friend's Kindle? I love e-readers. I own a Kindle and a Kobo myself. Though nothing beats reading a physical book, I can only own so many. One day I was at a friend's house. She loves reading manga, which I love reading too. She was going on and on about a new series that she started and it sounded very interesting. I said I would give it a go. She said she wanted me to read it on her Kindle right then and there. The issue was that while I love e-readers, one, I tend to read on e-readers with a bigger screen, a Fire instead of a Paperwhite, and two, I don't usually read manga via e-readers at all. Like I said, I love e-readers, but reading on a smaller screen gives me a massive headache, and for some reason, trying to read manga that way makes it even worse. No, that's fair actually, because when the panels are really small, you really have to squint to try to actually read the text on page. I don't like reading on a small screen either. And for some reason, trying to read manga that way makes it worse. When I explained all this to my friend, she got annoyed and said I never wanted to read the same books as her. Kinda true. But I told her I'd borrow it from the library or get it at the store. She huffed and then the conversation turned away from books. I feel kinda bad because she loves recommending books to me, but she mostly reads romance and historical fiction, which aren't my favorite. This was the first time in a while that she recommended something to me that I thought I would genuinely like. Am I the father? No, your friend was being unreasonable. Hopefully this didn't turn into a big dispute, and hopefully you did end up getting the volumes from the library or the bookstore, and you guys got to chat about the series and like life moved on. But explaining to someone why you can't or just don't want to do something, and then them not accepting your no and being huffy about it, that makes them the father. You're good. I just realized, thanks to my girlfriend, that I have been exclusively reading books by male authors for years now. Now, on one hand, it's been great for me because I've been reading books that I really want to read for the most part since this wasn't done consciously. On the other hand, it's a lot harder for women to get published, and maybe I should be taking steps to support those authors more. This will be interesting to see what the forum says, to see how people respond to this. Personally, I don't think that makes you in the wrong because it's not something that you were consciously doing. You just were picking up whatever looked interesting to you, and you happen to be picking up a lot of male authors. I assume you were you read from maybe a male-dominated genre, but as you said, in some genres, it is harder for women to get published. So being aware of this, I mean, are you gonna go forward and be like, maybe let's look up a couple of female authors that are prolific, that are well loved and respected within my genre, and try a couple. You might be expanding your horizons and you might be finding new awesome books. So, I mean, it sounds like you're open to trying other things. So, I mean, I think you're fine. Try Robin Hobb. If you follow me, I assume you read fantasy. Robin Hobb is killer. Let's start with the Life Ship Traders. People are gonna kill me for that. I've been telling my nephew I'm going to read a book for months and sometimes lie that I'm actually doing it. So now I just avoid him so he won't ask me? Dude, just tell him you're not gonna read the book, or just read the book. I promise you, clear communication will almost always be a better choice than actually avoiding a human that you assumedly care about, or at least are in forced proximity to. Just say, hey, you know, I said I was gonna read the book. I said, you can even pick it up, try it, and you don't like it, and you can say, I tried the book, I didn't like it, I think you're awesome, recommend me something else. But if you're to the point where you've lied enough that you're now avoiding a human that you would like relationship with, or that you're forced to have relationship with, just speak words that are honest and true. It'll be okay. I'm sure you're an awesome person, but in this particular scenario, yes, you are the father. I have 1,000 middle grade in my home library, and my niece, who at the time was 8 years old, asked to borrow one of them. I didn't let her. I have a no child policy in my home library. There's also a public library nearby. Use that. Am I the father? No. I mean, again, they're your possessions. You used your money to buy them. And for a lot of readers, and Gavin, I know you personally, books are a big part of our life, and taking care of books is kind of like any other collector that collects things that they're passionate about. Now, personally, I mistreat my books. I annotate them, I dog-ear them, I break spines, and I lend them out regularly. But there are certain people that I will not lend books to because they have notoriously not returned books to me in the past. Doesn't hurt the relationship, I've just created a boundary. Sounds like you've just created a boundary. Now, she's a child, so if she takes offense, you know, give her grace because she's 8. But you are allowed to create boundaries with your possessions. It's okay. You're doing just fine, Gavin. When I started getting into reading again as an adult, a coworker of mine was really excited to give me a copy of one of his favorite sci-fi books to read. I read it and I really didn't like it. It had some cool concepts, but I thought it was executed poorly, and some things really didn't sit well with me. I was going to tell him that it wasn't my cup of tea, but I'm glad I read it, and it was really nice of him. But I also wrote an honest review on Goodreads. It wasn't scathing, it just explained what I didn't like about it, and he saw it and commented on it. His comment was nice, and he joked about how he hopes I can still trust his recommendations, but I still felt awful about it. Am I the father? No, this is hilarious. Sounds like he had a really good sense of humor over it, and it's not causing friction between you guys, so this is just a really funny scenario to me. Just offer to do a book swap next time. You give him a book, he gives you a book, and then that way he can roast something you love too. It'll be fine. Okay, I think that's good enough for this video. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I hope you followed along and also filled out a form or are going to fill out a form now. Again, that's found in the description. Feel free to chat with me more about any of these if you have a different take than me, or if you want to add extra commentary, or if you want to pose your own scenario, fake or made up. It'll be fun to read through more. And check out my review channel if you like keeping up with what I'm reading week to week. I post spoiler-free reading vlogs as well as spoiler review videos.